Are you a bulb onion farmer and you rarely hit 10 tons or even 20 tons per acre? Maybe you've been frustrated in the previous days by the low production in your farm. Well, this guide is for you. It's bulb onion farming guide from planning to execution, tailored purposely for farmers. And in a very, very simplest manner, such that every farmer can manage to understand and also implement. So stick around. If you are also new and you want to venture into bulb onion farming, this also might come in handy for you. So take a pen, take a book, write notes. If you have any question, if you have any query, if there's somewhere that it is not clear, kindly drop your question in the comment section. In this 2024 version of how you can manage to grow bulb onions and get at least 10 tons per acre, we shall be featuring the following: the best time to plant bulb onions in Kenya, soil analysis, that is, which is the best soil for growing bulb onions in Kenya. Remember, not all soils are good for bulb onion farming. Then the best irrigation systems for bulb onion farming. Also, the best bulb onions varieties in Kenya. How to raise bulb onions seedlings successfully. How you can also manage to transplant the seedlings successfully. The best management of bulb onions, that is the best fertilizers for bulb onions, when to apply them, and also the quantities. We shall also be looking at wasp diseases and how that you can manage to control them. And lastly, we shall be looking at wasp pest and how you can manage to control them successfully. Before venturing into any farming, we usually tell you farmers carry out a market analysis. This one will help you understand when the prices are high and also when the prices are low. And it will also help you understand when the production is high and when the production is low. This sum ups as a gain for you to understand how the two seasons work. So when we talk about the best time to plant onions, especially in Kenya, we look at when we have high prices and when we have low prices. For me, I've seen the best period that you can manage to do bulb onions in Kenya is June. Okay, you make sure that you've planted in June so that when they take the 3 months of June, July, and August, you can manage to harvest them around September before others harvest in October. Okay, and also at this time, the onions that will be in the market from May, April will have been absorbed by the market. The second time that you can manage to do bulb onions is around November. At this time, those who harvested in October are still selling their produce. Okay, so by planting in November, you will manage to harvest your produce in February, when the supply in the market will be kinda low and attracting better prices. However, this may change with changes with weather. If it rains so much, the supply may go low. If now farms flood, also if it's kinda dry so much, this one may also vary. Before planting onions, carry out a soil analysis. Okay, so this soil analysis helps you to understand whether your soil is fit for growing bulb onions. Not all soils are good for growing bulb onions in Kenya, and especially the cotton soils. The black cotton soils, they are kinda sticky, they have poor drainage, and also they are locky when dry. Okay, this inhibits the growth of tuber, the bulb onions, and also makes them stunt. So you will find bulb onions grown in clay or now the black cotton soil. They are elongated, they are small in size, and also they tend to mature prematurely, if I may say that. Okay, so if your soil is black cotton, it's not good for bulb onions. Also, if your soil is extremely mallam or extremely sandy, those ones now you'll have a challenge of drainage. Okay, so you find although the tuber may grow and expand, now watering also becomes a challenge. The best soil for growing bulb onions in Kenya is loam soil or sandy loam. What I mean by sandy loam, it's a mixture of both, has kind of small sand or mallam mixed with loam. So loam or sandy loams, they are the best soils for growing bulb onions. So the best thing with them is that they have good drainage. Then number two, they allow the expansion of the bulb. Okay. And also, they will also allow the spread of the nutrients. So it doesn't become much of a hectic. And at least this way, you are guaranteed at a good manage to get good sized bulb onions. But for black cotton soils, unless now you add a lot of charcoal, a lot of mallam, a lot of ash, manure to try and rehabilitate it, it becomes a challenge. So ensure before you plant, you stick to loam or sandy loam soils. When we selected the best time to plant onion, those two periods, the June and November, there are usually some rain, okay? But depending purely on rain to farm is a very big gamble because the weather is not predictable. You cannot manage to predict what will happen. Will the rain subsidize or will they remain the same? Okay? So it's always good to have a backup plan in case the rain subsidize or in case there is a drought in mid. So there are three types of irrigations that most farmers can use for bulb onions farming. But the best of them is the drip irrigation system. The drip irrigation system is the best for bulb onion farming. At least this one, you won't have challenges of fungal diseases from overhead irrigation, or some areas were not watered unless it doesn't have enough pressure or even pressure, where you have find some regions have enough water and others doesn't have. It does good job. Okay. Others that farmers use, because remember drip irrigation is kind of expensive. Other method that farmers use is the furrow irrigation. We have even the watering. We're using cans, using the rain guns, canal irrigation. All these works, but for me, drip irrigation is the best, and especially in terms of management, also in terms of nutrient. Remember, for furrow irrigation, there is a challenge of leaching. So every time you apply nutrients and manure, you'll find that they are easily reached and they may not be seen in the growth of crop. So if you are using those systems, ensure that you apply a lot of manure. Also ensure that you apply a lot of fertilizers and foliars as well. Given that all systems are now at a go, the other thing that we look at is the best onion variety to plant. Not all bulb onions variety attract the same price. Also, not all bulb onions have similar production, and not all bulb onions have similar taste. Okay, so there are 4 best bulb onion varieties that you can plant in Kenya. We have number 1, Neptune from Amiran. We have also Lucette from Amiran. Those two are good onion varieties and have a wider market acceptability, and especially the maturity, the taste, and they have a good skin which doesn't peel off when in storage. Okay, the other two that you can do is Red Coach and also African Red. Those two are good, but if you have good capability, go for Neptune, go for Lucette. But if your customers tell you they want African Red or Red Coach, you can also do them. The 4 of them, they are hybrids. They take 3 to 4 months maturity, and depending on the weather. The warmer the region, the faster the maturity. The colder the region, the more time it takes for these bulb onions to mature. Like African Red may take up to 100 or 120 days to mature. But for Red Coach, Neptune, and Lucette, these ones, they tend to mature kinda faster. Also, remember, when you're selecting these bulb onions varieties, buy from one, genuine dealers, and then also number two, ensure that they have good packaging, they are well stored, and then they are also in good condition so that you don't buy seeds that will come to disappoint you in terms of germination. After you've gotten your bulb onion seeds, the next thing is you can raise them yourself, or you can take them to seed raisers and have them raising these seeds. You just have to pay them a small fee and then get your seedlings back. But this one adds another extra cost to your budget of bulb onions farming. Remember, in every production, as I keep saying, ensure that you keep your costs as minimum as possible. Your costs should be as minimum as possible, okay? So try and raise them yourself. This one will take around 1 or 1.5 months. Ensure that before you raise them, you've prepared your seed bed, well raised, at least 1 meter in terms of width. The length may vary as you may wish. Then ensure that it has loose soil. Then the other thing, if it's not that much fertile, it's not recommended to add a lot of manure, especially if the manure is not compost. Okay, so you just raise well, ensure that it has loose soil. Prepare shallow furrows to mitalo kidogo, okay, not that deep. Remember, if you sow them deeply, they will take time to germinate, or they may not germinate. So ensure that you do shallow sowing, ile kupanda shallowly, okay? Then after that, sow your seeds, okay? Then from that, ensure that now you keep watering. You can cover them with a shade net or a black polythene paper, and then remove it after 3 or 4 days. This increases the warmth in the soil and fastens the germination rate. After that, you keep on watering. You can mix the water with city shooter, and the solution applied at least once per day. This now should continue up to 4, 5, at most 6 weeks. Okay, don't let it pass now that 6 weeks, because it will now start the phase of establishment, and this will have a huge challenge and also a huge impact in terms of the yield. So within 6 weeks, these seedlings should be ready to be taken to your farm. Alternatively, now, as I had said earlier, you can source them. You skip the buying the seeds, you source the variety from the seed raisers. Now, the only problem is that you are not guaranteed of the variety that you are getting. But when you have your own seeds, you are guaranteed of the variety that you planted. During 6 weeks, when your seedlings are at the seedbed, that is the time that you use to prepare your farm. Okay, so ensure that it's well plowed. Also, the soil has been furrowed very well, so that you can manage to have as loose as possible. Then you can also try to have a very, very sustainable water solution, so that in case of the rain subsidies, you can use it. The other thing is that now that's the installation of the drips, or if it's the furrows, you ensure that you've done them in a super way. After that, now we come to transplanting. The best spacing for bulb onions is 8 to 15 centimeters. That's the best spacing. If you narrow the spacing, you will get small sized bulb onions. If you widen the spacing, you will get large bulb onions. So we ensure that we have an average spacing where we get a good sized bulb onions that can be accepted both in supermarkets and also in the mass market. The other thing is that when you are planting, there are two methods. If you have the drip plants, you can just go and pitching the holes and planting those bulb onions, the best method for me is to make small trenches along the drip line, apply a small manure, then plant your bulb onions. This manure will help your bulb onion, especially in the second month. It will boost the bulb formation stage. The other thing that it will help in water conservation. Okay, and the use of manure is the secret, at least for you to have 10 tons and above per acre. It's an input that it is underrated but really helps. Now, after transplanting, drench with the city shooter. This is it's an organic hormone that boosts the establishment, reduces the stress of transplanting, and helps the seedling grow faster. The other thing that you need to add in the solution is thunder insecticide. Thunder insecticide will kill all cutworms and other worms that come with the manure. Okay, so you won't have to do a lot of gapping later on. Then the other thing is do now the normal watering. With this one, at least within 2 weeks, your bulb onions should have now started to establish very well, which we usually say zikuwe zimeanza kusimama. Okay, this is the secret for transplanting bulb onions successfully. So far, as a farmer, you are 50% to your successful bulb onion. We go to the other 50%, which entails the management. You got it right on the timing, you got it right on the variety, you got it right at the seedling stage, you got it right at transplanting. Now, the other thing that you have to focus on is management. And management, we have 3 things: fertilizer application, pest management, disease management, and also we have weed management. Now, let's start with fertilizer application. I know you didn't hear mention the use of any fertilizer during transplanting. Yes, when you are transplanting and you apply any DAP fertilizer, this crop or this plant has not come out of the stress stage, so it might not manage to use your DAP very well. So most of it will end up being leached out. That's why we recommend that you top dress with DAP from the 10th day after transplanting. At least this crop has developed some root hairs that will be able to absorb the DAP. In an acre, at least do 100 kgs, minimum 100 kgs. For manure, in an acre, you can do 5 tons to 10 tons. Okay. Now for DAP, at least do 100 kgs. Okay. Then 30 days from you've transplanted, this is the end of the first month, which we usually call the establishment stage. Establishment stage is when now this crop tries to grow and grow. Now, on the 30th or 31st day, you can apply NPK 1717, NPK fertilizer 1717. This one will help. It has a balanced blend of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and it will help in root growth, foliar growth, stem growth, all that. And it will also help in now bulb formation because it has also the potassium. And that's why we are applying it on the 30th day, okay, or 31st, the end of the first stage and the beginning of the second stage of bulb formation. Bulb formation always takes stage from the second month, okay? So introducing the NPK, it will enhance the formation of the bulb. Then from the 61st day, this is the last month, and this month, this is the bulb enlargement stage. The bulb was formed in the second month. Now on the 3rd month, it is the bulb enlargement stage. At this stage, we recommend that you top dress with CAN, same rate of 100 kgs. Okay. Even in the side of NPK, it's the same rate, 100 kgs. So you apply CAN 100 kgs at the 61st or the 62nd day after transplanting. Okay. Then there are 2 things that you have to watch out, or you have to ensure when you are top dressing. 1, ensure that you only top dress when the soil is wet. If it's dry, immediately after top dressing, then carry out the irrigation. This one will help the absorption of the nutrients. But if you apply the fertilizer and you don't do the irrigation, 50% won't be used and it will be just a waste. Okay, and that's where we were saying you need a standby system for irrigation that you can use, especially now at this stage. And the other thing, don't pour the fertilizers on the leaves. It will scorch them and they will dry. Also, don't let the fertilizer come into contact with the stem of the bulb onion. It will scorch them too. Okay, so that's how you should apply fertilizers successfully. And these rates, don't go for minimum. Remember, how well you feed your bulb onions will determine the yield that you will get. If you apply 2 kgs in an acre, don't blame me for getting less than a ton per acre. The worst pest in bulb onions is thrips. Thrips, and they usually attack bulb onions on the 2nd month of bulb formation. Okay, at this month, the crop has a lot of foliages, ikona matawi mingi, and they will attack it and suck a lot of water. Thrips are responsible for over 30% loss in yield. So you have to be very keen and control them as early as possible. For me, anytime I'm doing bulb onions, I would go for Emalon insecticide from Kenagro. I can also go for Belt from Bayer. That's also a good one. And even also Thunder from Bayer. The other one that you can use, you can also use Profile. Profile is also a good one when it comes to controlling thrips in bulb onions. And even in this 2nd month, ensure that you spray at least once per week with this insecticide so that you can manage to control thrips successfully. Once you control them on this 2nd month, on the 3rd month, there will be no need because there will be none of them in the farm. The worst diseases in bulb onion farming are purple blotch. The other one we have is blight, especially in cold season. And the other one that we have very common is rust. Now, though there are all those others, these are the most common. The best way to manage them is you control them early. And by early, I mean from the 3rd week of transplanting your seedlings. So from the 3rd week, latest from 1 month, introduce now the fungicides. The best that you can use for me, I love using Lidomil. Lidomil will also work. I also love using Score. Score is good, especially when it comes to preventing the rust and also the black spots. The other thing that I love using also copper. Copper will help in prevention. So with those 3 applied consistently, you can manage to control these fungal diseases effectively and have good yields. Remember, in management, we usually say, especially in pests and diseases, you should start it early. Once you start it early, it's cheap and easier to manage. But when you do it, when they are already affected, it becomes a hard thing to control and also expensive because the intervals of spraying are many. But during the prevention, especially if you are preventing, when you're doing your normal spray, for me, in my case, as early from the beginning of 2nd month, I make sure that I have added a Lidomil, some Score, and also some Emalon and a sticker. This one goes in handy in controlling all my pests. Now, the other thing that you really have to watch out is weeds. Ensure that your farm is very clean. Weeds act as host to pests, act as host even to some diseases. Ensure your farm is as clean as possible. Weeds also increase competition for nutrients. Okay? But when your farm is as clean as possible, you will get good results. And even when controlling these diseases doesn't become that much of a challenge. So far, if you follow these steps across in your onion farming, you should get good yield of over tons per acre. But if you don't do good management, if you don't do good transplanting, if you don't select the best variety. If you do bad seedling raising, then getting these 10 tons or 20 tons will be hard. You'll just be hearing them as drama and saying it's not possible, but indeed it's very, very possible. It's not that complicated, but ensure that you follow step by step, step by step, step by step, and don't skip. When you have this schedule such that you have to spray today, don't skip the spraying. If you have to do top dressing today, don't skip the top dressing. Okay? Now, the other thing that I should consider is the cost of doing bulb onion per acre in Kenya currently in 2024. The cost is kind of high. Seeds are expensive. Yes, a kg is ranging above 40 to 50,000. Labor is also expensive. So if you will have some staff, and especially a cashier employed to look for the farm, at the farm for a month, that's around 10,000. So for the 3 months, you have that team. If you add now the cost of weeding, land preparation, and all that, it comes to around 60,000. So the current cost of doing bulb onion is over 350,000 per acre. Yes, the cost of farming bulb onions in Kenya per acre is 350,000 shillings and over. Yes, this is not fixed, apana, and over. Now, this cost, the cost of a kilogram, now will depend with the quantity that you've produced. For example, if you produce 1 ton and you invested 350,000, it means that you produced 1 kg at 350 shillings. Okay? If you produce 10 tons and you've spent 350,000, it means that the cost is around that 5 shillings per kilo. Okay? Now, if you now produce 20 tons, it means that the cost of producing your onions per acre is around 17.5 shillings per acre. Okay? So, the higher the yield, the lower the cost of producing 1 kilogram. And that's why I keep telling farmers, at least ensure your cost of production is as low as possible. You'll manage to compete very well in the market. And also ensure that you have high yield. Once you have high yield in the market and it's good quality, even if you sell at even 50 shillings per kilo and you produce at 17.5, or even if you sell at that 5 shillings and you produce at half that price, you made your 100% profit. But if you produce like 1 ton and you spend 350, that's a loss. And it's a very, very huge loss. So these are the maths that we help you farmer, and especially now for those clients who have engaged us, these are the maths that we try to do with you even before you get your mad into it. So don't go producing because you've heard farmers saying how you can make a kill with them. No, just look fast with these numbers. Just try to crack these numbers and look at the other risk. And also, this is where now the farm visits comes in handy. Before you plant, engage us. Let's go and see the farm. Okay? Let's know, is it viable? Is it viable for bulb onion? Because there's no need you lose 350 while you would have paid 5% or 10% of that as a consultancy fee, and you prevent losing for that. Also, the farm may not be good for bulb onions, but may be good for another crop. That's why we tell you, try and engage us, and we shall help you. Our role and our joy is to see farmers succeed, farmers earn, and farmers grow. Now, before you leave, kindly ensure that you subscribe. Kindly ensure that you share this video to as many farmers as possible so that you can help us reach farmers